to be back in the studio after 2 weeks traveling with the fam. How are you, Rocio?
Amazing, amazing. It's always a pleasure to see you, Taide. Full of energy, full of joy.
Uh,
I love it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I know we had a really good webinar in December. For those that didn't watch that one, it is in our channel, so go back to it because Rocio shared a lot of good knowledge then, and you were so popular on that one that people asked us to bring you back and they wanted to learn about your book. And today we have a really good topic for those that, I mean, including myself. Sometimes we need that extra motivation, when things are not going well or not as expected. So, very excited for your presentation today, Rocio.
Wonderful. It's always a pleasure being here with you and connecting with your audience. It's amazing to share value with people, and we're all unstoppable here at Taide, and that's what we're here for today.
Exactly. So if you're ready, let's jump in, and I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, and then we will go through your presentation, and at the end we will have a Q&A. So for those that are gonna be watching live, please make sure that you share your questions, whether you are watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we will monitor them, and then we will ask Rocio at the end, and we have a good Q&A just to wrap it up. So, Rocio, the stage is yours.
Wonderful. What a pleasure. Thank you so much, Taide. Well, today we're talking about what it takes to be unstoppable. My name is Rocio Perez. As you know, I am the founder and inventor of Inventiva, which is an organization that helps individuals tap into their unstoppable nature and create the lives that they love and desire. And today's topic, let's move on to the next slide there, Taide. Today we're going to be talking about what does it take to be unstoppable right there. For me, I truly believe that success isn't a result of spontaneous combustion, that we must set ourselves on fire, just like Arnold once said. And that to me is so important, to make sure that nobody's coming here to lead us. Nobody's knocked on my door. I don't know about you, Taide, but nobody's knocked and said, Rocio, I'm here to lead you. I'm going to be your leader from here on till forever. We must lead ourselves, and learning how to lead ourselves is one of the most important things that any one of us can ever do. The second part of that is understanding that we have a plan. What is our plan to lead ourselves? What does it look like for us? Do I know where I'm going? What am I doing? Am I building a business? What is the business that I'm building right here, right now? And where am I taking, especially right now in such transitional times, such as COVID? What does that look like for us in these times? And how do we shift to a new reality? How do we create that? How do we transform and adapt? That's been one of the greatest things that we've been able to demonstrate in this world, that we have the capability of adapting, and therefore even the roadmap that we had 2-3 years ago, it no longer serves us. And as we're doing strategic planning or any type of planning, for me, we're planning for the next 3 to 6 months out. That's what it looks like as we lead the way for ourselves. And then secondly, as we're moving forward right there, so we've got number one, how to lead ourselves. Number two, understanding where we're going. And number three, developing our awareness to the degree that we can go ahead and move forward and create extraordinary opportunities for ourselves and for other individuals. And what that happens to be is that if I understand my own triggers, or I understand my blind spots, there's a lot of things. There's what I know, there's what I don't know that I don't know, and then there's what I think I know that I know, right? Like Rocio knows that I'm not a doctor, right? People call me all the time and say, Rocio, it's an emergency. I'm like, I am not a doctor. Please call 911. Get that person into the hospital. I know about businesses. I know about leadership, right? If those are the two arenas that people are calling me about, perfect. That's my arena. So in developing that awareness, what is that we know about ourselves, understanding our blind spots, understanding what makes our heart sing, understanding anything and everything about us, even things that upset us, because at times we're in front of clients, things are happening. And I'm sure how many of you have ever experienced that? I know I have, where I've been in front of a client and I'm like, I'm not sure, that person rubbed me the wrong way, or maybe they said something and it just landed the wrong way. And I know it wasn't their intention. How do we not take it personally in those moments. And that's what being unstoppable is all about. When we have all of that, then we have the capacity to be able to take individuals under our wing and show them the way in such a subtle way with empathy, heart connection, authenticity, vulnerability. It's one thing to feel vulnerable, and the other thing is to be vulnerable. And I'm going to make that distinction really quickly. Feeling vulnerable is that I'm feeling like I'm under attack. Somebody said something and I just want to guard myself. I don't want to be around them. Something happened. They're insensitive, whatever that may be. And being vulnerable is saying, you know what? Maybe I've been through some challenging times, and who hasn't been around challenging times, especially right now around COVID, right? So many people have lost their businesses. So many people don't even know how to take care of their families right here, or how to recreate, or weren't able to be as agile and recreate themselves or create something new. It's adapt in this moment or create something new, right? Let's do that, or find another industry that may be able to support you in ways. Being unstoppable for me, there's 7 keys to success. The first key to success right now is to make sure that fostering awareness right there, fostering awareness of our capacity to change. Number one, what does that look like? For me, I understand that my brain is developed to create things. We're the only ones in this universe that can create anything. You know, we have a horse, a puppy, whatever that may be. They're only going to be that for the rest of their life. They react to their circumstances as opposed to us. We have the ability to be able to transform ourselves, and knowing that our minds are malleable. I can change. And we must always, from the moment that we're born to the moment that we leave this earth, that we have the capacity to change at every given point in time, right here. Understand that our mind plays games with us. So here, understand how that happens and how to hijack it. If you're ready to do that, call me. I'm the expert at that, helping people achieve amazing opportunities for themselves. So understand that we have the capacity to change. The second one is incisive discovery. How about we get curious? What would it look like to understand that maybe there's some gaps? There's a difference between where am I at today? There's a difference between where I want to be, and then there's that gap in between of who I must become in order to have what I desire to have at that given point in time. And that's something that's really, really extraordinary that helps us along the way. How can I accelerate those insights? Maybe it's through coaching, mentoring. And for me, it's one of each. I have my coach, I have my mentor, I have my sponsor, I have my champion, I have individuals that I connect with at every given point in time. And that helps me understand my blind spots. That helps me accelerate and get to where I want to be at any given point in time. And for instance, right now we're launching a game, the Mind Shift game. That's an extraordinary opportunity. Who I was at the beginning of this journey is not who I am now. I had to gain additional skills. Team skills, leadership skills, management skills, all different types of skills that I didn't have, and who I have become in the process has been extraordinary. Having a prophetic vision, what does that look like? And we all know at any given point in time, and we can even remember as far back as our childhood, we wanted to achieve something. What was your why? What did you want to achieve? What was that vision that pulled you forward? Something that you gave so much energy, and you know what it is in this moment. Something that you gave so much energy to, and you said, I am going to do this. And for me, I'll share something rather personal. I was pregnant at 14. I was a mom by 15. I had a 6th grade education. And I knew one thing for certain is that if my son had an opportunity in this world, I had to go out and create it. And I had this vision as a little girl. Someday I want to grow up and become a teacher. And I went after it at that given point in time and said, okay, what do I do here now? How do I grow and become this individual that I want to be? And I held on to that vision. And was it easy? No, not necessarily. And yet I can say it was worth it along the way. I was on a bus to and from school, walking, waiting for buses, whatever, to the tune of 8 hours a day. And I made it happen, even though I didn't know exactly what that journey would be. And we all think that that journey is going to be a straight line. It's like from here to here, from here to here. No, in reality, that journey is like, And then you go up and then all of a sudden you're there. And that's the beauty of it. As long as you hold on to that vision, what is that vision? You know exactly what it is right now that you want to accomplish. Something that's going to get you up early in the morning, keep you up late at night, keep you excited, elated, and knowing that it's possible and probable for you, because a lot of people come up and they're like, I don't know that's possible. I remember when I was in my situation where people would say, Rocio, it's not possible that a teenager is going to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. You can't get educated. You know, you're a single mother, teenage mother, your family disowned you, you're uneducated, menial jobs, labor, whatever. And I said, no, it is possible for me to create the life that I love and desire. And I have. Along the way, I have the privilege to guide people all over the world to help them quantum leap their successes in a year. They're able to 10x their results that they would have never been able to accomplish. And that's straight out of their mouth, where they say, Rocio, you know, I today, in the last 10 months, I have been able to achieve more than what I have in the last 30 years. What is that worth? Like, give me more of that. Like, I want more of that. And I love that. That's also part of step number 4, speeding up your personal evolution to make sure that you get in contact with these individuals that can help you. That I know for me, I would have given up anything and everything. I remember the first time I was sitting in front of a conference and I learned that somebody could fast track my success in 2 years. I would have given up 14 years of my life. I had already invested in my education, had multiple degrees. I had been an entrepreneur for so many years. And at that moment, I said, wow, I could have done this in 2 years. What is that worth? Going through that path, understanding where we're going, having that roadmap for leadership. How do I develop myself? What are those specific things that are important for me along the way? To me, that's crucial, because at times, even if I hire a coach or have a mentor, whoever's best interest that's guiding me along the way through my process, even if they disappear, because life happens. You know, how many of you have ever had a coach or a mentor or somebody that was supporting you and all of a sudden they disappeared because of life competing circumstances? We must always have our own roadmap, because that's happened to me time and time again. My greatest opportunity was in sharing with people. I just kept on going at it. Okay, Joe disappeared. Okay, let me go find someone else. Oh, Anne disappeared. Let me go find someone else. And I'd find the next person to take me along the way in mapping out and thinking, maybe sometimes there's a bump, there's a detour, there's so many different things that happen, understanding that that is that, and accepting it. Accepting that. How else can I do this? The next thing, number 6, is taking massive action using massive leverage. And that's the beauty of it. For me, it's being resourceful. How do I, right here, right now, leverage my resources? What are my resources that I have? Is it time? Maybe I don't have time. Maybe I don't have money. It doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes even leveraging ideas, masterminding with our friends, asking everyone under the moon on what they can do, will create extraordinary opportunities, even leveraging and bartering our services as entrepreneurs, seeing how we can get to where we want to be along the way. The last part of that one is number 7, refining your testing, tracking, and tweaking. To me, success, again, it's not a straight road to success. It goes all the way around the way and it makes loops and so forth. Coming back to it, how do I test? How do I track? How do I tweak? And making sure that maybe it's not the right time in the market. Maybe I need to figure out how to make things a little different. Maybe it's a time of day. Maybe I'm marketing to the wrong audience. Maybe how many other times have we been like knocking on somebody's doors and it's not even our right audience in there, and we're like, this doesn't work. Well, in reality, it does work. This was what gives us the opportunity to be able to make those things happen that we can tweak. The hardest thing that anyone ever has to do, and I would ask you to write this down in this moment, is to think and to reflect. Review, where have you been? What is happening as a result of that? Is it working? Discover it. I have a 21 question process that I take myself through every single day, and it's magical. As I look back at what I've written throughout that process and say, wow, I really discovered that I wasn't taking the time to respond to everyone in a timely manner. Or I discovered that I'm much more powerful than what I think, that I'm able to handle even more, when in the past I thought it was just overwhelmed. Everything in the beginning, it's a little overwhelming. It's like having a new baby, right? It takes some time to get used to that, or a new job, or a new career, whatever that may be. It takes some time. Let's go on to the next one. And it's about being consistent in everything that we're doing. How do we bridge those gaps? Most people are asking, how do I bridge those unstoppable gaps that allow me to show up like that rock star, that person that I am? And that's really invested in yourself. The greatest investment that I have ever made and have ever seen anyone make is in themselves. The ability to be able to hire somebody, a coach, a mentor, whoever that may be, to guide us along the way, a consultant, somebody that can fast track our success. At times, they can save us 10, 20, 30 years down the road with 1 year of investment in their time. Sometimes even a mentor for an hour. I know I've met with people, it's like, okay, here's 1,000, 5,000, whatever that may be, for that 1 hour, that they can fast track what I'm able to do in a very short period of time. And in that is making sure that we lead ourselves. Okay, so we've got it. Lead yourself, be intentional, develop your awareness. And one of the greatest things is leading, be authentic in leadership, in yourself, in your own leadership, be empathetic. Sometimes we're empathetic with everyone under the moon, and we're not empathetic with ourselves. And at times we're not even vulnerable. We're not vulnerable to say, you know what, Taide, I am having difficulty right now. I had to lay off 3 people on my team. We're trying to make things happen. I don't know what to do. That vulnerability will allow us to take our life to the next level, take our business to the next level, take our dreams to the next level. To me, no one has ever gotten to a place of significance without being vulnerable and having amazing people like Taide and everyone around us, our vendors, our partners, our friends, whoever that may be, even people that criticize us. Without that, we wouldn't be able to grow. Nobody made it perfectly, right? Nobody bats 1,000 in life. And that's something that's very certain in our life. Take a look at your past, your present, your future. Figure out, what is that timeline? Take a look at what are some of those things that are seen there that maybe we don't see them right now at this moment because we've been so far removed, or maybe we're too close up. And it's important to take a step back and say, this is amazing. Let me take a look and see what's happened over the last 2-3 years, what's happening right now, what are some of those trends, where do I want to go in the future? And again, how will I fill those gaps? And finally on this slide is that feedback is our best friend. Even somebody who comes in and criticizes us is amazing for me. I love that. Anytime I hear criticism, I say, wow, that's fantastic. Thank you enough for caring. Because sometimes those people that are closest to us, it doesn't matter who they are, they're amazing. And they're like, I've had that happen myself, where I've shared topics and insights. And I remember I was using pictures on certain marketing material that I was putting out. And I shared it. I'm like, oh, to my closest family and friends and my madrina, godmother, and everyone under the moon. And they're like, oh, it looks great, honey. And then I come back months later and they're like, I never liked it to begin with. And I'm like, wow, I wish I would have known that in the beginning. I wouldn't have made the mistake of putting it out there. So I want to have that feedback. I want to understand the things that I'm not seeing around me. What are those blind spots? What are those opportunities? Let's go on the next slide, David. And where do we start? Everyone's asking, okay, where do I go? Where do I go from here? What's your why? Understand your why, because in those moments of difficulty, and you know what your why is right now. For me, it's my son, it's my family, it's my niece that I'm committed to helping her get through medical school. It's my 6-year-old grandson, Emilio, who I want to make sure that he has the most extraordinary life. This is why I get up to be unstoppable every day. I also look at my patterns and how do I disrupt my patterns. So if I'm a left-hander, right-hander, it doesn't matter what I am. Let's go ahead and switch it up a little. If I'm right-handed, let's go ahead and switch to left hand. If I like to get up every morning and drink a cup of coffee, maybe I drink a cup of water, a glass of water, whatever that may be. Change your patterns every day and see what happens. Try it out for a week. See what happens. There's a level of clarity that happens in the mind, an ability to be able to see things that we didn't see before, an ability to be mindful, present, and see those opportunities that are right there. And here's an important one. Have the real conversation. What does the real conversation look like? A lot of the times we're holding back. And I know you know what I mean, right? Because I've been there. I've been there and I've done that. I'm like holding back and I'm like, I really don't want to say what's going on. But really what we hold back is it eats us alive, and we don't have that opportunity to have that vulnerable, authentic conversation where people can bring us their solutions. And what overthinking looks like, here's my favorite one. I remember seeing this video, and I even posted it on LinkedIn. This little guy, he's about 5 years old, and he's holding on to this rope for dear life, and he's like crying, like, Mom, 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 come save me. And he's in the pool hanging onto the rope, and he's almost drowning. And then Mom just comes and lifts him and stands him up. He always had the capacity to stand up. He was just panicking too much and didn't see the opportunities that were there. Bridge your gaps. Look at those gaps. Find a way to bridge those gaps. Do I take a course? Do I work with another individual? Do I play the game? Do I play the mind shift game? Whatever that may be. Get a mentor and be a mentor. I know that for me, the greatest gift I've ever had has been the ability to mentor. I have a group of women that I mentor. They're my fabulous 10 women who I've been mentoring for well over a year, and I have had so many rewards of that opportunity. Besides being mentored, that's fantastic. Watching them succeed over time and grow as individuals has been even more extraordinary and rewarding than what I could have ever imagined. And then finally, looking at being resourceful, relentless, and resilient. What does that look like? What can I leverage here now? What do I have? What haven't I seen? Write that question down. What resources have I not seen that if I was to see, would change the course of my life immediately? It may solve my problem. It may solve other people's problems. How do I be relentless in my approach? A lot of us, when we knock on the door 3 times, I'm like, oh, no, that person doesn't want to work with me, or it's impossible. I'll share a quick story. When I talked about going into university and becoming that teacher that I wanted to be, I was relentless in my approach. I remember being 15 years old and taking up my registration form up to Rosemary and saying, Rosemary, I'm ready. And she's like, no, you're 15. I said, I know. She's like, well, you have to be 16. I said, okay, well, how else can I get in here? I'm like, well, your parents need to sign. I hadn't seen my parents, and that's a different story. And I kept on asking him, like, how else? And it wasn't until I got to the response that I wanted, and that was the only way that I can go to university was to divorce my parents, which I did 30 days later. It's about being resilient. It's about being relentless. It's about being resourceful. It's about asking the questions. You can take a huge question right here. Ask yourself the question, how else can this be done? Right? Because there's always a will. My grandmother always had this saying in Spanish, and would say, todo tiene solución menos la muerte. Everything has a solution except for death. How do we find that solution right here, right now? Let's go on to the next slide. Thank you. And most importantly, like, what are your takeaways right here? Take a look at what you're taking away right here. At this moment, we're going to go ahead and open it up for Q&A. And I know you had some questions right there, David, that were so important. I'd love to answer those questions as well. All right. Go ahead.
Let's share your contact info before we jump into the Q&A, Rocio.
Wonderful. Please. And my contact information is on the screen. You can call me directly at 303-587-8367, 303-587-8367. And here's one thing that I know, and I know you're just like me, understanding that life is anything and everything is possible and probable in this world. And as we move towards that anything can happen at any given point in time. Here's one of my favorite quotes. Life shrinks or expands to the proportion of one's courage. To me, everything is about courage. I take that next courageous action. I build even greater confidence in who I'm being and what I'm doing. And it happens in business. It happens in personal life. How do I be courageous and guide? I can be reached at rocio@inventivaconsulting.com. I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You can find me in many, many different places. Feel free to call me, text me, email me, send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm here to help you answer your questions.
That was great, Rocio. Thank you so much for sharing all those tips. I have a couple of questions. If you guys, the ones that are watching right now, if you have more questions for Rocio, please make sure that you share them on the chat. Rocio, you know that in this world there are people that are or that they can self motivate, without too much effort. There are others that takes them a little extra effort to get to where they wanna get. So my question to you is like, when you are working with someone that reach out to you for help, kind of like guidance, right? They want some guidance. They want you to create a plan for them. They want you to make them accountable for their actions once you give them the plan. Uh, is there any time within that process where your client starts getting like energy down, and what do you do to like kind of like put them back on track? And I'm asking this question because I know that there are some people are going to be watching this and be like, I want to work with Rocio, but I know that after a month and a half I won't have enough gas to keep up with the plan. So what can you tell those folks that need that extra motivation when they need it?
Well, the rewards are far greater than what you think, right? When you stick through it, and it's about exercises. And here's one of the great things that we do, Thaide, is there's specific exercises that work. It's not just for Thaide. You can't just go to the gym. And I know, Thaide, you have your own workout routine. You've been working with your own personal trainers, and that routine is specifically to you. And that's what we develop here. We work with the mind. We exercise the mind. We expand the mind. And I find out what it is with that individual, what's going to work for that particular individual so that they can get over that hump. Because there is a hump. And especially when we're about 3 feet from gold, and I'm sure a lot of people have read the book 3 Feet from Gold, when we're about to have one of the most major breakthroughs in our life that are going to take us to another level, it may look like, I don't have time. I'm too tired. Maybe I don't have the money. I don't have this, like a million excuses. And for me, it's always to invite my clients, and every single person that I've ever invited, to hang in there, even the ones who made it already over the hump. And we committed to coaching for 3 or 9 months or 12 months on there. And I see that they've gotten, okay, wow, we've gotten them there. And I know even for a client yesterday, she broke through one of the most amazing experiences in her life. Yet we only have 2 weeks of coaching. I invited her and I said, I invite you to stay on another 30 days. Why? Because now we must sustain it. You broke through. And our natural response is to revert. And for those of you who've ever had children or seen children or been a child, there was a point in time, remember little kids, they get injured. My son, he broke his arm. He was 2.5 years old and broke his elbow. And he was out of diapers. And all of a sudden, with the surgery and the pins and everything in the cast, he went back into diapers. We have a tendency to revert to back behavior. Well, adults are no different. It looks slightly different, yet it's still the same thing. We have a tendency, and especially because it's our natural instinct to fear our success. We fear the unknown. And yet our subconscious mind betrays us. Because at one point it's like, oh no, I'm afraid. Let's make up all these excuses. And then we get to that point and it's like, that was easy. Yet it gave you a hard time. Yet it took you 3 months to get over the hump, or 3 months to do the very things that would have taken you 3 minutes, right? There's times that, and you know what I'm talking about, some of you out there, right? I've been there among that person who it took me 3 months to get to something that would have taken me 3 minutes. Yet I put so much time, energy, and effort and reasons why not, and it was easy.
Throughout your presentation, you mentioned your why. How important is the why to accomplish your goals in your life?
Wow, your why is number one. It's number one. I know that you get up every day because of your children and your wife and your family, right? You get up because of that. I'd say that that is the number one driving force, because that every time when we get tired, every time when we find even a setback or we're stuck, we can remember why we're doing it. What will it give me to move beyond? For me, to have a niece that goes through medical school, to have another one to become a neuroscientist,
Mm-hmm.
to have my grandson traveling all over the world with me. That's what it gives me, to have that joy and that experience. Because the journey, yes, we all get stuck. How do we stay focused? So the why is number one. What are you doing? If your why is not strong enough, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Either find a stronger why or don't do it, because you're going to find yourself where there's difficulty, and then we'll have a tendency to run away. We run away, we get busy, we get sidetracked, we get stuck, we get whatever. It didn't work. Yet, if we have our why, I'm like, it's going to work. It's going to work. Of course it is. And we've all known what those things are. I've had whys even in my own business. When I launched my book, Unstoppable: 7 Steps to Becoming a More Intentional Leader, which is where this presentation came from, where people were saying, Rocio, it's impossible for you to do it in 2 months. I launched it in 2 months, cover to cover, writing, photo shoots, everything, cover to cover. And I had people sit in front of me and say, Rocio, you're never going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They look at my timeline. I look at the timeline and say, it will be done.
And
And
what
go
I
ahead.
found fascinating is that that why that you have, it can be like a few years from now. It doesn't have to be something like it's going to happen in the short term. I have met so many people that have that motivation to accomplish something that is going to happen like 5, 10 years from now. Even like when we went to school, we were studying so hard with the hope that we will finish university and earn our degree, right? So we're talking about 5 years. In some other cases, it's like 10, 20 years. Like I was in the Central Coast last week, and in our webinar last week, we had Frances Prado, which she grew up in the farm fields in California, and she was sharing her story on how the biggest motivation for her that was their children going to school and accomplish something for themselves, right? So he will, and farm workers work extremely hard, and I mean, I'm still pretty impressed by everything that they have to go through on a daily basis, and I think that one motivation or that why for them is just it's either family here or family in their countries of origin, whether it's Mexico or somewhere else in Latin America, and that why is like help them to overcome the 115 temperature weather, being on their knees for like 8, 10 hours. I mean, it's just amazing what we can accomplish when we have that a strong why in our life, right?
It is, and it's a driving force for me. It was this beautiful 6-month-old baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew he didn't stand a chance in the world by that. Like, he didn't stand a chance in the world. If I didn't go out and create it, he was my why. He was my why. I'd walk in through snow, right? Backpacks are heavy enough without having to carry a 2-year-old at 4 o'clock in the morning going onto a bus so I can make it to school at 8 a.m. Right? That truck I left at 4, I got to school at 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And now in the evening, having to make that same track to go pick up my baby and come back home. This is what that why really serves us. Why? Because it's a future, it's an opportunity. The future can draw us. Just like we can borrow from the future, we can borrow from the past. We
Mm-hmm.
can borrow from our past strengths and say, Rocio, you did this. As a matter of fact, in our mind shift game that I'll talk about in a minute, that's what we do. We borrow from the past and say, hey, here's where we've been. Look at how amazing this is. And let's tap into that energy and help it thrust you into where you want to be. What does that look like here now? Let that vision of becoming a teacher, an entrepreneur, leading the world, finding a solution with your products and services for people, that inspiration, let that draw you towards it, just like it drew me towards it. Everything has an ability to be able to propel us to that next level as long as we borrow from it.
What advice do you have for anyone that is dealing with, a lot of stress and a lot of pressure right now because of the pandemic and everything that has happened, especially for business owners? I know a lot of business owners that are still struggling and they are trying to find a way to keep their doors open. Of course, that I'm always encouraging them to do business online, but sometimes they don't have the energy to take any action. So what advice do you have for any of them that are going through some difficult times right now?
First of all, call me. And second of all, find a routine, something that energizes you. And I promise you, as you go out, get out, even walking around the block, go out, walk around the block, start with 1 block today. Take yourself half a mile the next day, 3 miles in a week. I promise you that our energy starts to shift in that. It energizes, it motivates us. Let's get into a routine. Exercise is so necessary. Here's 5 things that are so important: exercise, hydration, breathing properly, because a lot of us, when we get into that survival mode, because it is,
That's
and
true.
I'd say the vast majority, I'd say 98% of the world right now is in survival mode, right? And then there's those leaders that are leading, and then there's the ones that are in survival mode, and then there's the ones that are oscillating between survival mode and being present, right? And being mindful. When we are missing the proper amount of oxygen in our body, it is almost like, let's say I'm gluten intolerant. I get sick if I eat bread, flour. And if Rocio goes too long without eating, let's say I haven't eaten for an entire day and all of a sudden somebody offers me pizza and I'm like, I'm so hungry, I want to eat the pizza, yet it hurts me. How does that happen? Same thing with oxygen. There's only 30%. Let's assume that we're getting 30% less oxygen when we're in survival mode. Our mind is only able to grasp these thoughts that are just within reach versus waiting, just like waiting for the pizza to get what exactly my body needs, which is up here. And I can't get it up here because I'm in survival mode. I could only get what's right here. So even breathing, do breathing exercise. For me, I take it really simply. Exhale all the way out, hold it for 3 seconds. Inhale all the way in, hold it for 3 seconds. Repeat that 10 times and then tell me how you feel. I can guarantee you, as that's done properly for yourself, you will shift. Here's another thing that will also shift. It's what we tell ourselves. And I have this amazing video of Emilio, my grandson, who's now 6. He was 4 years old at the time. And with Emilio, one day I went over and I was throwing the ball and he's like, I can't catch. And he's catching with his arms up here. Of course he's not going to catch. You've got to catch like this, right? You catch, put your hands right here. And then by the time I left that day, he was catching like this. He's not really going to catch, is he? The next time I came over, Emilio's crying. He's like, I can't get this and I'm not going to catch the ball and I can't do it. And I'm like, what is this child telling himself, right? It is the conversation that is inside. And especially because as adults, we don't hear that conversation. We have anywhere from 50,000 thoughts to 70,000 thoughts a day. 80% of those thoughts are the same thoughts that I had yesterday. As a matter of fact, it's the same thoughts that I had the day before. Not only that, it's the same thoughts that even, and I'm going to say it in Spanish, and I'll repeat it in English, hasta mi tatarabuela tuvo, right? Even my great-grandmother had the same thoughts that I'm having. Like, these thoughts are just happening in nature, and we're catching them as if they were real, and then we're living into these thoughts. We're engaging in interaction with thoughts that are not even real right here, right now. And so what I did with Emilio in that moment, I said, Emilio, you've got this. And I got him into the peak state of mind and saying, I've got this. And he's like, I've got this. Who's got it, Amelia? I've got it. And I have this video where I throw the ball and he's in a peak state of mind. He's like, I've got this. Who's got it? I've got it. Who's got it? I've got it. And I throw the ball and Emilio catches it and he runs towards me and he's like, I've got the ball. Let me see the video, because I was recording him in that moment. And to see that joy, Emilio caught 98% of the balls that were thrown after that point. Now we're talking a child that couldn't 10 minutes before catch a ball to save his life.
Mm-hmm.
What are we telling ourselves? I've got this, right? To me, I take my power back. It's probably one of the most powerful exercises that I take individuals through. If we just say that to ourselves, along with our breathing and movement, like I take my power back right here, right now, I can get myself centered. Those are some ways that I can get myself centered. And of course, eating healthy. To me, there isn't anything more powerful than to make sure that you eat water-rich foods. I can tell you, you give me a steak, I'm probably going to pass out. Okay, you give me Italian or Mexican food, you better have a couch right next to you because I'm going to go to sleep. I'm like, my body, it takes so much energy. Even at all of our private and public events, we have salads, we have foods that actually energize people. And most of the time, people don't even know that all we're serving is healthy foods. Like, I think I've only had one guest who said, Rocio, there's not food that I eat. And I'm like, okay, there's plenty of food. Yes, there's not a steak here.
I'm laughing because I was going to say I have organized parties where all I serve is carnitas and I have a whole bunch of very energized people around.
Well, that's amazing if that works for those individuals.
But it's a Mexican diet,
Right, it's the Mexican diet. And I know for me and for a lot of the people that I've worked with, it makes a difference.
No, of course, yeah.
And
I agree with you, and I have mentioned it several times in the past that the most valuable asset that we have as an entrepreneur is our health, and we have to protect it and take good care of it. And everything that you're saying right now, it makes so much sense to me because when you are so busy dealing with many different projects and stuff, you have to be at a peak state of mind, and the best way of doing so is like exercising, breathing, having a good diet. And I mean, your message is totally resonating with me right now. And speaking of mindset and stuff, why don't you talk about the mind shift game that you're about to release? Because I think that's going to be very good for a lot of our audience once it goes out to the public.
Definitely. So here's our mind shift game. I was coming off of a lot of stages.
Let me give you a solo so they can see it.
Can we zoom in? Okay, awesome. So I was coming off of a lot of stages and people were like, Rocio, take me with you. And it's virtually impossible to coach everyone on them. When I tried it, I failed at it because I didn't see the light of day. And I wanted to help people. And so I created the mind shift game. These are the learnings that I've taken along the way that I have helped clients on there. How do you rebuild yourself? How do you build yourself even greater? Right now, we're actually in a pilot phase and we're in pre-sales for those individuals that are interested in this moment. And here's what it is. It's a game. It's a game that everyone can win at. It is your game. You set the rules, right? You set what you want to accomplish on there. I take you along the journey. We have an amazing community where you're able to connect on a weekly basis. We go through an amazing meditation to get you completely aligned with what you're doing. And then you go through a process of journaling. It comes with an amazing journal as part of that process. You have a community that you get to ask questions with, do activities every single day. I know when I started my own journey, even a year ago with a game, I was scoring only 18 points. I started with 18 points. Today, I'm at the level of mastery. I'm scoring 90 points. How amazing is that? And as a result of my own alignment, I'm able to accomplish even greater things. I'm going to share these cards right here. This amazing game comes with 100 card deck, and it has different categories. It has categories from courage to confidence to expanding your vision. What does that look like to expand your vision? And it has energy and how do we tap into our power even greater? And these affirmations, it goes from I am, I have, I trust, I can, I choose to, powerfully, I create, I use, I know. all of these, every single one of these cards, there's a magic formula that works with anyone, that once our mind is expanded, that we continue to take these courageous actions as a result of it. See, confidence can only be developed through taking courageous actions. And that's what the game invites us. It invites us to become aligned with ourselves. And it invites us to continue to be in a community of supportive individuals. And as you know, Taide, and you can also speak to that in a moment, sometimes we're in communities that may be negative and say, like, I don't know, Rocio, you can't do that. Just like people were telling me, like, there's no way that a teenage runaway whose family doesn't support her is going to go after an MBA. Well, guess what? I have a dual MBA, right? I became a serial entrepreneur. This is my third business venture. And I get to help people on a global scale when people say, you're never going to amount to anything. And yet I've taken everything that I've learned and put it into this game and created a community that helps support individuals. And for those individuals that are interested, we're definitely working with a number of individuals, and we have this in pre-sales already. So for those people that are committed to taking their life to another level, call me. And this is one of the most extraordinary journeys. The best investment is in you, shifting your mind, creating those new neural pathways. That's what is amazing. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, a horse could only be a horse. A puppy could only be a puppy. A car could only be a car. They don't have the capacity to be able to transform the mammals. No one can transform except for humans here. And we're able to create new patterns that are patterns of winners. I have had the privilege to work with individuals from all over the world and continue to do so. I have individuals that come to me who earn 70 million, lose it. 10 million, lose it. 2 million, lose it. It doesn't matter the number. They lose it because there's something inside of them, and whatever that is, through private coaching, we discover that relatively quickly. You can put somebody in front of me within 1 to 2 days. We have a complete roadmap for them to walk through for the next year to transform the life to where they want it to be. Here's another opportunity for people to do that on their own and also in community to move themselves forward. What does it look like to have somebody that can help you break through when you come in? As people come in and they say, okay, Rocio, all they have to say, Taide, is hello. And I already know what's going on in their life. It's enough for me to understand that's my gift, to hear people and understand where they're at right now. And as my clients say, Rocio, you always leave me in a better place than where I was at. And to me, that's fascinating. How do we do that every point in time?
Rocio, for anyone that is into product development, or they are working in launching a product to the market, how long did it take you to, go from idea to execution to the actual product for the Mindshift game?
Well, great question. It took many, many years of compiling information where I wanted to do it. And it was actually during COVID where I said, okay, now we're going to jump and we're going to do it. It took us an entire year to get to where we're at. And I mean, nights and weekends. And I was actually running 3 shifts with my team. I would start with 1 person or 2 people, and they'd get, they work their whole hours, and then all of a sudden I'd get another team or another team. I was running 3 shifts at the time to be able to do what we did. So from idea to launch, it took us an entire year to be able to launch this. And we already had the information ahead of time. So we have the trademark as well.
And I ask you because, oftentimes we think like it's going to be a shorter period of time. But I always say that, big projects take a lot of time, a lot of hard work and dedication, and you just have to be patient and trust the process. You have to trust the process to understand that it may take longer than expected, but you're going to come out with something really good to the marketplace, just like you did with this product, which, do you remind us how the people can get it?
And most definitely, people can contact me directly.
Okay.
Again, they can call me at 303-587-8367. And they can also email me at rocio@inventivaconsulting.com or reach me through LinkedIn, any type of social media. I'm even on WhatsApp too. So for those of you who
because for those that are very visual I think this is a perfect product, to have, and to have that again, that guidance that is gonna take them step by step on everything that they want to accomplish professionally and personally, right?
And that's one of the beautiful things right there, that all of our products are products that have what's called, that we're able to even hand off to the next generation. These are the games that keep on giving. These are the books that keep on what's called a replayability. That anyone, you can pick it up even a year from now, that you go through 3 rounds and you're like, okay, I've got it. I know exactly where I'm at. You can pick it up even a year from now and play it again and master your own goals, because it's all about you. The game is designed around you, for you, and to help support you and to be in that community where with people that are going in the same direction, that have that mindset of growth, and to understand, like, hey, we're committed, right? Because we're going to do that no matter what. And that's why our why is so important. Where there's commitment, there's a why, you can achieve anything and everything that you desire.
We're running out of time, but before we go, I would like you to elaborate a little more about the importance of being resourceful. One thing that I've noticed, throughout this pandemic, unfortunately, a lot of business owners went through very difficult and challenging times, and I started to get in touch with folks that I didn't hear from like 2-3 years. Like from the first time that they contact the Hispanic Chamber of E-commerce, or now the U.S. Business Association of E-commerce, until now. So to some extent, I was happy because they could connect in their head, like, oh, this association can help me with this need that I have, right? So they think of us as a resource for them. So how important it is to be resourceful when things are not going as expected.
100%, and I hear that so loud and clear. We must become the most resourceful possible. At the beginning of the pandemic, everything disappeared for me, right? I was on the stage. 100% of the time I was on the stage, building products on the back end and working through things. And so I had to become resourceful. Resourceful means that every time, just even asking ourselves, how else can I do this? Who else can I leverage? Who will know about this? Continuing to ask that question, making it, to me, that either makes or breaks you, bottom line. And I would say out of probably 100 people that have been, or thousands of people that have been in my situation, very few have made it through. For me, the reason I made it through was because of the resourcefulness. Where I see people that are making it through, they're figuring out how to reposition themselves. They're figuring out how to even barter their services. What does that look like for them to barter their services? Maybe I cannot afford to do that here now. How can I leverage even somebody else's employees? Maybe I'm a coach. How can I coach you and have your employees help me get the work that I need done? What would that look like? So I'd say the number one key thing in anything, it doesn't matter if anyone takes anything away from this, is the resourcefulness is the number one key thing. That's what makes us unstoppable. And it's resourcefulness in thought, mind, it's resourceful in energy, even in our own energy, that there's a resourcefulness there. Use it to your advantage, tap into it. And I know things may be difficult for a lot of people all over the world. There's something good. Even among everything that we're going through, gratitude is probably one of the greatest things that we haven't tapped into right now. Right now we're living like kings and queens in comparisons to other people around the world. We live a very privileged life. And I know I see myself every day as we sit down for dinner and say, wow, we're really, really privileged. And it breaks my heart to see the people all over the world, to see that they don't have even 100th of what we have for one moment in time. How do we be grateful? Let's tap into gratitude first. Let's be even more resourceful. Let's go focus on our why, and let's go ahead and invest in ourselves in ways that we haven't, because I can guarantee you that as we're committed and we move through everything that's important for us to move through, that we get what we want out of life. What does that mean to us right here, right now, right? Go after what you want, because your life does depend on it. And actually, you know what? These times make you an even greater leader that you would have never been. Stick through it. We learn through the difficult times. There are gifts in adversity. Use them, discover them. Ask yourself, what is the gift in this adversity right here, right now?
No, I love it. And just like you said, those gifts in adversity, we have to be grateful for them. And I think gratitude is also as important as our health. We have to be grateful for what we have. And that brings more abundance to your life in many different ways. Not just in your business, but like how you feel internally, emotionally, like how you interact with your loved ones. And it's like, just like you said, like for me, the fact like I can get up, breathe, see, eat is, I mean, it's just like that's a blessing by itself. And then whatever it happens the rest of the day, and like, hey, I'm alive.
So simple. We have a
And
place to sleep. We have water, clean water to drink, food to eat, a warm place. All of those things we take for granted, and we focus on what we don't have in that moment. How about we focus on what we have? And to leave this final point right here, and I know you and I can talk about from here till forever because we love these topics. Imagine that whatever we carry with us, whatever's inside that we haven't transcended for ourselves, and if we're carrying that we're resentful, we're actually showing up to the meeting with Taide being resentful. I'm showing up to the meeting with Mary being resentful. Like that doesn't go away. So we must transcend that. If we're wondering why people are not doing business with us in the way that they can be, is maybe we have something that their subconscious mind, because this happens, right? There's a lot of research behind that. If I have anger, people are like, I don't know about that person. I don't like that person. There's something about that person. How many times have you been in front of someone and you're like, I don't know about that person. There's something about that person. I don't trust them. And sometimes it's because of what they're withholding or what they're holding. Maybe I'm holding anger and grudges, or maybe I'm withholding the fact that things are not going that well. I'm not being authentic and vulnerable.
That is so true. Yeah. Like just like you said, I mean, we can spend hours and hours talking about different topics, and we can start going even deeper into some of the stuff that we're talking about. But I want to thank you, Rocio, for joining us today and for everything that you have shared with us. Please remind our audience one more time how they can contact you, because this presentation is gonna live in our different channels, and I think it's important for people to know how they can reach out to you if they want to talk to you about how they can improve their personal and professional life with some help from a coach like you.
Wonderful. Well, my phone number directly is 303-587-8367. Again, 303-587-8367. Or you can contact me at Rocio, that's ROCIO, at inventivaconsulting.com. You can reach me on WhatsApp, LinkedIn. I'm on even Facebook. We have so many different pages on Facebook, as well as Instagram. So I'm here to take any questions from anyone. You can text, email, call.
And Rocío es bilingual, so habla español también para los que quieran.
Español. Me enseñó abuelita muy bien.
Los que quieran hablar con Rocío, recibir un poco de ayuda, ahí está a su disposición. Rocío, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. You know that I have a high respect for everything that you do. I love your entrepreneurial spirit and what you represent to a lot of Latinos and Latina entrepreneurs in our community, for the work that you're doing, helping to empower people to become better versions of themselves. So thank you so much for everything that you do, Rocio, and you know that this is tu casa, and you're very welcome to join us anytime that you want.
You are amazing, Taide. And I've known you for so many years, for a decade plus right there. And it's just been a privilege to see how you show up in the world. Thank you for your service. Thank you for leading the way. Thank you for showing us what is possible in this world, that we can become anything that we desire. You are, como dicen mis latinos, un orgullo latino.
Muchísimas gracias, Rocío. Thank you. And for all those that were watching live, thank you so much for joining us today. Please make sure that you share this presentation and talk about Rocio and the good work she's doing, and contact her. I promise you that you won't be disappointed. Thank you, Rocio. Feliz tarde.
Thank you so much. Muy buenas
Bye-bye.
tardes.
Take care.
Hasta pronto.